Like, hey guys.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Press X to Podcast. It's the podcast from your friends at COG Connected, where you've got myself, I'm Paul, and you've also got Rhett.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you, Paul and James, and I'd just like to say I finally broke my White Claw hard seltzer cherry.
Oh my.
Ruby grapefruit tonight, and yeah, it's okay.
Wow, it's a resounding endorsement that you should expect a sponsorship from them anytime now.
It's not bad. Honestly, it's not bad. 100 calories, 1 gram of sugar. It's really not too bad.
Interesting. On the white can vodka soda front, I got a sponsored neutral ad on my Instagram the other day where they were casting some shade on the other white can beverages, saying some of them don't use real vodka, and I can only assume that they're talking about White Claw.
Wow, really?
Because I don't think Nude would do me that way.
Carbonated water, alcohol, cane. There it is.
Wow.
Cane sugar, natural flavor, citric acid. There it is.
Mystery solved.
Water and alcohol. Holy shit.
What a delicious combination.
Yeah.
That other voice there, that's James. Hey, James.
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Wow. That was
nice.
Yeah.
It's going good.
I had a mighty energy.
All right.
Really had that big James energy.
Heck yes.
How you guys been doing?
I'm doing well. Over my sickness now, but Paul, it sounds like you've maybe caught it.
Yeah, really, really hoping that it's not the COVID-19.
Do you have the sniffles?
I got a wee sniffle. I'd call it a wee sniffle.
Generally, that means you're out of the COVID water.
I see.
Mostly what you'll get is a dry cough and a fever that may or may not liquefy your organs depending on your age bracket.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, mostly just those two things. Everything else is kind of rare.
Did see. Probably the only plus side of coronavirus is that I did see on Twitter. You can say COVID-19 to the tune of "Come On, Eileen," and it's pretty fun.
Nice.
Let's give everybody a second to think about that in their head.
COVID-19. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, just like that.
Okay.
Pretty fun, right?
That was smooth. Yeah. Wait. Can you give me that one more time?
COVID-19.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's smooth, man. That's smooth.
See,
that's clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sample is going to make its way around.
Yeah. Unlike your system, which will be filthy with the virus, should you catch it.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Sounds like everybody's going to get it at one point or another here.
Really, it does sound like that, eh? 70%. I think researchers were estimating 70% of the planet will catch it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. Good job, us.
Yep.
Perfect.
We did it, guys.
At least while we're quarantined, we'll have video games.
It's true.
Fuck yeah. And some good ones, too.
Some really good ones.
Yeah.
A bunch of them that we can't actually talk about, that we recorded segments of previously with the one and only James, that you'll hear sometime in the future, probably in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that.
Yes.
But in the meantime, Rhett, tell me about One Punch Man.
Man, this shit was good. I liked it. Like I said in my review, I'm not good at fighting games. I'm not a huge fighting game fan. I like Mortal Kombat, I like a little bit of Street Fighter, but again, I'm not good at them. But One Punch Man, it's simple. You can get into it. You got 2 attack buttons, you got a dodge parry button, you got like a modifier button. And that's pretty much it. Like, it's super simple to grasp. Not even difficult to master, you can get in there and you can be confident within a few hours of play. And I like that. The rest of the game can kind of be hit and miss. The mission structure is super repetitive. Like, holy shit, man. You'll be playing the same mission essentially over and over and over again. So really what you're going to get out of the game is how much you like the fighting system. You know, how much can you get behind upgrading the different fighting styles. You know, you'll have like a machine fighting style, a weapon fighting style, a heavy fighting style. And there are different tiers to these that you can upgrade and acquire new moves for these fighting styles. Yeah, like it's if you've played a Bandai Namco fighter, you've played this game. It's good. I enjoyed it. If you're a fan of One Punch Man, absolutely you should play it. But it's nothing to write home about by any means. You know, it's again, I said in my review, it's never gonna top Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or any like fairly competent fighter. It's never gonna be better than that. But if you're just looking for a casual game to knock some heads and you know, enjoy the world of One Punch Man, it's great for that.
So my big question, and they touched upon this a little bit in the preview material that really released up to the point it came out, but Saitama himself, old Baldy, is not a major feature in the game because he's so unfairly powerful. Is that about the gist of it?
That's the craziest thing about the game, and I mentioned that specifically in the review, that it's like a surreal almost experience to be playing as a character that cannot be damaged and will kill anybody in one shot. And yes, that's exactly how he plays. If he's attacked, you can get hit with the biggest combo in the game, and he'll just be like brushed back a couple feet. He won't react to it. Yeah, he barely touch, or he barely feels it. And it's funny, like he's got several moves, you know, like I mentioned that modifier button. If you hold the modifier button and hit square, triangle, circle, you'll do one of many different like special moves essentially. And he's got a few of them that are really good. They zoom in on him and his face, like he really becomes over animated, and then, you know, he fucking hits you with the one punch and fight's over. And it's good too, you know, like obviously every fight you're rated at the end of it, time, bonus, HP, and they give you like an S, you know, a C through S rating. And regardless of how you do, if you're Saitama, man, you're gonna S every single fight because you're beating people in 2 seconds. Yeah, it's like I said, it's surreal playing as him. It's hilarious. He's not like you were saying, he is not like the main feature of the game by any means. You're playing as your created hero and going through the story mode. It follows the events of season 1, and you're kind of like Genos B. You know, there's Saitama,
Okay.
there's Genos, and then your character is like the protege of Genos essentially.
Okay.
And yeah, that's kind of where you fit into the story.
Yeah. As somebody who follows One Punch Man pretty closely, it's interesting how the creator figured out really quickly that you can't tell an interesting story with this main character because
Yeah.
he like no matter how much they build him up, like basically the story arcs became, how can we distract Saitama in the
Exactly.
dumbest way possible for as long as possible?
Exactly.
I think the like there's the arc I've been reading where like he's in like a karate tournament and he basically
Okay.
just puts a wig on. It's like, all right, I'm gonna do some karate and see how I can do if I'm in disguise. And it's just like, and basically while he's like participating in this tournament, like so many people in the real world outside are getting murdered and annihilated, and heroes are having their backs broken, and it's just like it's fucking chaos. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna do some punches and see if I can win some tournaments with just my like karate moves. And they're like, dude, what are you doing?
Man, it's a great series. It's a great world they've built. Like it's truly hilarious, you know. I'm not a big anime fan. I haven't seen too much, but that is the funniest anime I've ever seen personally. It's like it kills me every time. I could watch that first season over and over.
Yeah, it's pretty solid stuff.
Yeah.
All right, One Punch Man out now on probably just about everything.
It's everything, yeah.
Yes.
Switch included, yeah.
Okay.
Believe.
Yeah, if you're looking to shonen and you want to shonen jump, do one of those games. One Punch Man, that's the latest one. In other news, I've been playing Nioh 2.
Okay.
Did either of you play the first one?
I briefly touched on it, and it was okay.
That was kind of my experience with this franchise as well. I didn't play through the whole entirety of the first one, but this game is brutally difficult.
Oh,
It is so hard and merciless in its punishment of you should you make even one tiny mistake.
sounds like fucking Ninja Gaiden.
It's a lot like Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
It is made by the Ninja Boys, Team Ninja. So I think you already know if you're gonna like this game or not. For me, I'm not enjoying playing it, but I can appreciate the design work
Sure.
that's been put into this thing. I think a lot of the character designs and monsters and enemies and whatnot are really good looking. The game doesn't run great, honestly. I have a PS4 Pro, and it gives you a couple of options for how you want the game displayed. You can either go action mode, which does give you 60 frames per second, but it looks like hot garbage. The resolution is pretty rough. Even from a good long distance away from my TV, you could tell that this is not the sharpest looking game. And even when you put it on the movie mode, I think it's called, which locks it to 30 frames per second, and no psychopath in their right mind would ever play that way. It still doesn't look that great. It's not the sharpest looking game, but the designs and things that are inside the world look pretty good.
When you have it at 60 frames per second, is that steady even in the most intensive parts of the game?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'll notice a drop here and there, but it's not serious. Like, it's not
Right.
going to get you killed. It's always you that gets you killed in this game. And unlike something else that's a tougher game like a Bloodborne or a Dark Souls, which also aren't always my jam, but I can appreciate those a lot more because you feel a sense of accomplishment when you get past something or you conquer some hurdle. In Nioh 2, I feel more often like I am just repeating what I'm doing to memorize what's going to happen. I know where the enemies are. I know what the enemies are going to do. I know which mini bosses are going to show up along the way. And some combination of that memorization and luck helps you prevail. But it feels like a hurdle with another hurdle immediately in front of it that you don't necessarily want to jump over.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that like that predictability and that like how things play out the same way and you just have to get good enough at it to get past it sort of like discourages you from continuing. Like I would feel like that safety net of predictability would be helpful instead of like a hindrance, but you know, you're the one who's in it.
I mean, it is helpful in a way in that you know more what to expect, but it is truly just pattern recognition. You know, you've got to recognize this feint that happens before the big attack and know which way to dodge and things like that. But I don't feel the same sense of satisfaction of going, I dodged and then I used my heavy attack and I decimated this enemy. I don't really feel that way in the same way that I did when I was playing Bloodborne, for example.
Right.
So I don't know if that's just my gaming tastes having evolved or whether this is just not different enough to be super interesting. I'm sure people who are into those kinds of games are going to absolutely love it. But I don't think it's that interesting from a gameplay perspective.
I think that this style of very difficult game may have kind of had its moment in the sun in terms of like mass appeal, and the core audience is going to whittle down to like the lunatics and the devotees again, and then like casual motherfuckers like you and me are just going to kind of peel off and fade into the sunset and let these crazy people master these games as they have done for decades now.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they've kind of overcomplicated what makes a game like Bloodborne a fun experience and something that feels good to get better at. Is that they've overcomplicated the controls, especially. Because you've got a block, you've got an evade, you've got a double tap on the evade to roll, you've got a bunch of different stances for each one of the weapons. You've got a high, a medium, and a low stance, so you got to know which stance you got to be in. And in order to change a stance, you got to hold down a modifier button. You got to hold down R1 and hit triangle, square, or cross to change your stance. And you got to do that in the middle of your fighting. And you got to regenerate your stamina along the way. There's this like blue particle effect that comes out of your character after every attack. And you got to tap R1 at the right time so you don't drain as much stamina, so that you can live long enough to do your combo and then block. Because you can't block if you're out of stamina. And it's just things like that are... There's too many layers. Like once in a while, I'll get in a one-on-one with some big burly enemy in a more open space, and it's more fun to go through those motions and try to master it, and really keep your stamina nice and high throughout the whole encounter. But a lot of it is tight spaces where there's no room to roll, you can't dodge, and it doesn't feel like the game is trying to lift you up or show you how to excel. It's trying to cheaply beat you a lot of the time.
Yeah, there's a fine line when you're making a game where most of the battles become battles of attrition. And it's frustrating that it sounds like this one leans on the more frustrating side.
I mean, I've been bashing my head against it for probably close to 20 hours at this point, and I know I'm nowhere near the end of the game. Part of that is that I'm not an expert at these kinds of games, and I do see myself getting better, and I'll persevere to make sure I'm going to see all the mechanics before I write a review. But I'm very curious to see what other people think about this game, because the last one was so highly regarded, and I don't really
people
see it.
Loved the original.
I don't really see that as being an accurate depiction of what this game is. It's kind of Ninja Souls.
Right. Are there difficulty settings?
Hell no.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Fucking the ninja guys.
Yeah, you can. They've got this like graves mechanic where you can summon other players into your game to help you out. The AI for those characters is absolutely atrocious. They don't contribute in a meaningful way offensively. Really, they just distract the enemy, and maybe you can get off a few more attacks than you would otherwise.
Ninja Gaiden.
Man, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see where I land on it. Maybe there's some mechanic that I just haven't got to yet where it's going to make things suddenly seem fair and perfectly balanced. I wouldn't get my hopes up, though.
No, man, this is the Ninja Gaiden crew. That never happens. Never in the history of this fucking team has that ever happened. I don't see it happening now.
It's true.
I'm just bitter about Ninja Gaiden games in general. Just don't, grain of salt with all my hot takes on the subject.
Well, why don't we talk about something that I think we can all agree is pretty frickin' awesome, and that is the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo.
Okay, so right from the jump, I had a question about this. I couldn't answer it to my satisfaction with my very casual research in the subject. But I played a demo for this game back at E3 that was probably 35 minutes in length. Like, how long, what's the size of this demo that's been released out to the world?
My capture for the whole demo was 45 minutes.
Okay, so I think it's about the same shit, just with like some story content tacked on to the front and back.
Yeah. It's basically the bombing mission.
Okay, yeah. So I've played this, is what I'm asking. So I don't really need to download it
Mm,
and play it.
no.
So
No. I mean, I assume it's probably more polished than it was a year ago.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
But holy goddamn, does it feel good? It is super, super polished now.
Looks good too. My goodness. My goodness, this is looking good.
So I want to get your input on this, Paul. How did you feel about the boss fight?
I felt like the boss battle, it did feel like an RPG fight,
Okay.
but it also felt like a Monster Hunter fight. Because you're kind of, having to maneuver your way around and get to a weak point and, survive some, bossy type stuff. And I don't know, I enjoyed it. I thought maybe that particular fight went on a little longer than it needed to.
That's kind of what I'm worried about. For me personally, is that the pace of the regular battles is very fast, and this is kind of how it was in the original game. And it feels faster because of the new style of combat that's very action oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And I worry that the boss fights are going to drag even more than they already do, because boss fights are just longer. But the fact that the fast-paced action style combat is slamming against these arbitrary bits of padding, essentially, that are standard to any Final Fantasy boss fight, or most of them, at least the turn-based ones. So what happens is you get this weird kind of atonal jarring rhythm where you're doing crazy fast moves, quick, and you do a big special, you do another big special, and it just feels like you're smashing your head against this very gentle wall that's it's fine with you doing what you're doing, but you just have to do this for a long enough time, and then the guy's going to fall over. And it just feels like the regular combat rhythms and the boss combat rhythms don't quite play together the way they should. And maybe this is just my personal experience from one boss fight and one demo, but based on the way the mechanics played out, I have a feeling it might be a common thread throughout the game. This is something I've actually ran into in much older unrelated titles, where they give you this ability to do these amazing combos, but because the bosses are just 30-foot tall meat walls, there's they just don't feel like they do anything. And there is, now the important thing is, there's actually a really easy remedy for this, and that's if the boss fights get really hard. So instead of doing all this, you're doing everything I just described, but also you're working as hard as you can not to die. And that kind of balances out. But I feel like maybe just those initial early boss fights where you're feeling kind of overpowered are going to rub against you a little bit the wrong way. But I also know that Final Fantasy VII battles historically get pretty clutch unless you've worked real hard to cheat, basically, with super powered weapons you shouldn't have until TIS 3.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. What comforts me is that this is the demo is basically the tutorial, and that first boss is probably designed in a way that makes you feel like it's approachable. They've stacked a lot of mechanics through the course of just going through that reactor. There's a lot of mechanics that get thrown at you right away. But I could see if you're getting a whole bunch of materia and you've got a bunch of different weapons and you're coming up with different builds for your characters, and you've got some kind of variability in your team that you're picking, I could see tough boss battles being super satisfying. If you come up with this legendary build that is just absolutely boss against whatever beast you happen to be fighting, I could see the process of that being really satisfying, in kind of the same way that a Monster Hunter game can be if you've got all the right gear.
I guess the thing that I would hope for is that the battles get tough enough, like, which I'm sure they will. I'm not worried about that. One thing that does worry me a little bit is the idea that, like, the boss is going to have certain predetermined stages and phases is going to go through. You know, like where it's like, oh, well, you just have to hit him enough, and then he goes into like a crouch, or he does one of these, like, he changes phases a bunch of times. Historically, Final Fantasy games only really make you do that for like one fight at the beginning. And then they just throw that shit away because it's really annoying.
Yeah.
But like they always do it to you at least once.
I mean, they throw it away visually. But I think behind the scenes in the AI, there's a lot of scripting that's going on where, you know, boss hits half health, behavior changes, they, you know, suddenly they have a magic wall or they have whatever. I think that stuff is pretty common in these games.
Yeah. I guess overall, I'm just really curious to see how the team translated this from a 2D turn-based title to like an action title, and like whether how smooth that transition is going to be or what kind of problems they're going to run into.
You know what? I don't think I would call it an action title.
Yeah.
Yes, you're manually moving and manually dodging and blocking and things, but the attacking, it's not timing based at all. There's no real skill involved there. If you want to attack, you just hold down the button and it does the combo. I haven't tried it, but I'd be curious what the classic mode is like, where you're more giving the commands than
that's
actively controlling.
Interesting.
The demo does give you the option to do that, so I might want to try that. But yeah, I have heard from other people that it does get pretty damn hard. People who've played later in the game. There was a preview event not that long ago, and yeah, whatever boss they were fighting was schooling people.
Good, excellent.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about with this game is how they're tweaking the story and adding more to the story. A couple of things that, or the main thing that stood out to me was that, I don't know if you saw this or not in your demo, James, but did you see the reactor blow up?
I think so. It was a while ago, and I couldn't record any footage, so I didn't come away with any evidence of my time there.
Okay. So Cloud and Barrett set the bomb on the reactor, set the timer, they escape, and the bomb goes off. However, the bomb doesn't destroy the reactor. The bomb does this little thing, and the President Shinra and Sexy Heidegger are watching, and Shinra gives the command for the enemies inside the reactor to destroy it themselves.
Oh. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That kind of lines up with a later story beat. Okay.
So I like that they planted that seed early in the demo to be like, hey, we're going to follow the story, but listen, there are some wrinkles here, and we're going to follow them through. So don't worry, this is going to be a full game. That's kind of what I took away. I
think it was when I saw the last story trailer that I realized that they were going to make a fucking proper meal out of this, and I became appropriately excited. I don't have a lot of faith in Square Enix's ability to deliver a project on time, so I'm kind of worried about when we're getting part 2. But like, aside from that, that's one thing. I'm not sure how they're going to end this thing in a way that makes people who paid, people who are presumably very nostalgic about the original game, paid a bunch of money to play this thing. How do you make the end of the game seem like an ending that you're going to be happy with for 2 or 3 years? Well, okay. This, heads up, warning you right now, people who are listening who are much younger than me, I'm going to dig into some spoiler shit for a second. So, fast forward like 3-4 minutes.
Earmuffs.
Yeah, earmuffs, 3-4 minutes, fast forward. One possibility would be to frame the end of this story with a battle with the OG Shinra president. Because as you recall, he gets replaced towards the end of the city section
Yes, he does.
by his shitty son.
Fucking Rufus.
Fucking Rufus. So I think a really interesting change to the story could be where you end up in a pitched battle with the old president, and then you kick his ass or kill him, or he dies or whoever, and then it's like, oh, guess what? The fucking son is in the game, and stakes are higher than ever. Also, our boy Sephiroth is a fucking serious presence because I don't feel like he makes an appearance until the end of the city section.
No,
right?
Not in the original.
Yeah. So what'll probably happen is they'll like allude to his presence or whatever, or hint at it, and then you'll get a big proper reveal of him right after President the Elder is murdered or what have you, right? And then you have 2 new threats pop up at the very end. Is like, all right, end of part 1, we've established the stakes, you beat a big crazy boss battle, you save the city, but there's like much bigger fish to fry, so to speak, right?
Yeah, that'd be all right. I'd be down with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, in summary, I am very pleased with what I played and think the full game is going to be very satisfying, if not totally outstanding.
And it comes out when?
April 10th. I was going to say 3rd.
Nope,
that's Resident Evil.
Yep,
April 10th. Going to be good.
1 month away. Brace yourselves.
Buckle up, baby.
So,
yeah.
Man, also coming out the same day as Animal Crossing is Doom.
Dude.
And also Half-Life.
Oh, shit. Alex.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been playing
I've
been playing the original Doom on my Switch. Fuck, it's good to go back to that game. The music
is it pretty good on the Switch?
Dude, it's so smooth. Yeah, it's great. It's honestly better than the Nintendo version from what I can remember. Keep in mind, I haven't played the Nintendo version in 20 years at least, but no, it's smooth. It's good. It's very good. And it is, I don't know if it's still on sale, but it was on sale when I got it, so it was like $1.50 or something.
Okay, wait, we're talking about like the original Doom,
original
not
Doom,
Doom 2016.
OG Doom.
Yeah,
no, OG Doom, yeah. And they've got Doom, Doom 2, and Doom 3, which I believe was the first 3D one.
Mm-hmm.
They're all on the Switch there. Doom 3 is on sale. Again, I don't know if it's still on sale, but fuck, they were all on sale. The first 2 were like, again, $1.50, $2. And the Doom 3 was like $6. Fuck, it was a good deal on them.
Yeah, Doom 64 coming out also the same day as Doom Eternal. So a
Yeah,
crazy amount
yeah.
of Doom is going to be out in the world. Doom 64, by the way, is rad. I don't know if anybody
So
has played
sick.
that game.
So
yeah,
sick.
it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're really ramping up into the days of pain and suffering for reviewers because James, I know you are in pain, good sir.
Yeah, I've
sorry.
got 2 games I'm covering simultaneously right now. One, the Animal Crossing is coming out on the 20th. 2 is Person 5, the Royal Edition, coming out at the very end of March. And it's a bit of a work-life balance challenge where you have to keep all these things in the air, in check, while you do your due diligence and plug away. And rest assured that I will have such content for y'all when it eventually wraps up.
Such content.
Can't wait.
Such sights you will see.
All right. Well, look forward to that content when it happens. But in the meantime, why don't we talk about some news? I feel like there's been a little bit of news that's interesting lately.
There's been some news.
This was a throw in on my part, but we had an article on the site where Bethesda seems to think that Fallout 76 was worth it despite the controversy.
Okay. Hot take.
Who the fuck from Bethesda was saying this?
Pete Hines.
What? Peter? Peter, come on.
Pete's been getting spicy. He's not taking no shit from nobody anymore.
Does Todd know about this? Honestly.
I'm confident Todd thinks it works perfectly. It just works.
Yeah, he does. Todd thinks it's the best Fallout to date. Todd doesn't understand what all the fucking fuss is about.
Off topic, but I watched this video. I can't remember who the YouTuber is, so apologies to them. But it was about how Bethesda never understood Fallout. They never got it, and even with Fallout 3, they were down the wrong path with the whole 50s aesthetic and repeating death claws and super mutants, which were in the first couple of games that Interplay made. And yeah, it was a great video. I'll put it in the description in case anybody's interested in that.
I mean, the hardcore fans, I'm sure, can think that they can make that argument, but the fact of the matter is, nobody would give a fuck about Fallout if it wasn't for Fallout 3 and Bethesda taking the franchise. Say what you want about 76, but that's the fact of the matter. Nobody would give a fuck about Fallout if it wasn't for Bethesda.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
It might have gone in a different direction because Interplay properties were going up for sale no matter who was picking them. And it's possible we might have just gotten like an Obsidian-style RPG series instead. And in fact, I think New Vegas is a big part of why people feel so disillusioned, because one fucking time they gave the IP to like an actual RPG team, and they made this fucking masterpiece.
Yeah.
And then like everything else that Bethesda's touched has turned to whatever the opposite of gold is.
Right.
I guess.
So,
I don't know.
fun fact, Obsidian, when it formed, it was people who used to work at Black Isle who were the people who made Fallout 2, I want to say. So it was basically the people who originally made the Fallout series. I can't remember how that worked with Interplay and Black Isle, but
Yeah.
Obsidian was basically the original creator of the series.
Yeah, so when it was in the hands of the OG team, they made an RPG series, and Bethesda was just interested in creating a different thing. And I mean, that's cool, good on them, but they never seem to quite nail what that thing is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And now all these other teams and all these other development studios are coming in and fucking mining that same ample vein of material and world building and making better shit.
Yeah, I mean, Fallout 3 was one of my favorite game experiences of all time.
It's so good.
And Fallout 4, for all its flaws, is pretty fun to play if you like collecting desk fans and shooting things.
Yeah, sure.
So, I don't know, but Fallout 76, Pete, you're trying to sell a bill of goods here, pal.
Peter, that game is trash, and I think you guys need to go back to the drawing board. We'll see you with Fallout 77.
Yeah.
And Todd?
Yeah.
Honestly, dog, fucking give us an update on the next Elder Scrolls. God's sakes, it's time.
Listen, the way Bethesda works is they take the one game and then they hammer it flat like they're turning a chunk of iron into a fucking chest plate.
Yep.
And only once it's expanded to 7 times its original size and 1/30th of its original density are they then ready to make another fucking project.
Yep.
Like they have to pound away at 76 for so much longer before they're ready to fucking chuck it.
Oh yeah, that subscription service is still very much in its infancy. A lot of milk to be had. A lot of milk to be had there.
Pete defended the subscription too.
Oh,
Peter.
Yeah. There's a quote isn't in our article, but he did defend Fallout 1. Fallout 1? Is that what it's called? Something like that. But yeah, they got to take the wraps off of Skyrim in space this year, right?
Yeah.
No. They should, but who knows, man? They could. They're obviously running at their own pace. I think Bethesda thinks that they're Rockstar and that they can just proceed at their own pace, reveal things in their own time, and fans will just keep coming back. And there are some parallels between the two studios and the size of the releases, and both games do tend to have some fun, cool glitches. But Bethesda cannot run in the same leagues as Rockstar. They just fucking can't.
Couldn't agree more with that.
So what do you think? We'll get Skyrim Special Edition for new console launch, and then like an Oblivion kind of thing where maybe Starbound comes out sometime next year?
I think we'll get another fucking update for Elder Scrolls Online. I think we'll get like a big legacy update for 76. We're like, hey guys, it only took us 3 fucking years, but we made an actual Fallout game. Is anybody left? Hello?
Right.
And then they'll deliver one 45-second teaser trailer for one of the two properties, not both. Don't get greedy.
Fuck, James, you're probably right, and I hate it. I hate it.
Listen, I'll be overjoyed if Bethesda proves me wrong. Not holding my breath, I would die. Anyways.
Well, there might not actually be a place for them to do that and disappoint us or delight us, because E3 is looking more and more like it might just die.
Yeah, it was
Well, yeah, there's two things that have come up to put its future in jeopardy. The first is that there is an update where ESA said they were actively assessing the situation vis-a-vis the coronavirus, which is troubling but not a huge deal in itself. I think everybody's actively assessing the situation and kind of waiting for things to either the virus to burn through the country and be done, or to like simmer and get worse. The thing that actually makes it seem like it might get canceled is that the fucking creative directors for the show just dropped out.
Ooh, God. Yeah.
Yeah. I Am 8-Bit, which, hey, sidebar, why were they the creative directors of the show? Decided that they were not doing it this year.
And also, I guess it was probably a month or so back, Jeff Keighley stepped out too. He's not part of it either.
Oh, okay. And I've recognized that that's kind of a big thing, that he's been at the show in some capacity for 2 decades. However, I don't think I'd ever watched his content for E3 in the entire time I've known about it.
No.
I don't think I'm going to miss it that much.
No.
Oh, hell no. But it's the stank of death is ripe on E3.
100%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like somebody was saying that, like, if all the big dogs do have to stay home this year and then realize that their bottom line doesn't take much of a hit, they just might not come back.
Seriously, man. Sony didn't come to E3 last year. I think they announced that they were not coming to this E3 before the coronavirus, didn't they? Or at least before it got out of control. So, I mean, there you go.
But with Sony, I'm not really convinced that it was a good move on their part. Like, I don't feel like it's done them any favors.
Okay, fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Like, they have their own little events, like the PlayStation Experience or whatever the fuck it's called, and nobody watches them. Or I don't know about it. I hear about it from like other journalists who are like working that day. Like if I'm at work or something or at a social event, I'll come back and I'll read a couple blurbs about the experience. But no huge news ever comes out of it. It just feels like they ditched E3, replaced it with the Game Awards and nothing. And the first one isn't really their event, and it still doesn't have anywhere near the same gravitational force as E3. Like, it just feels like Sony shrugged off E3, has no replacement for it, still has no replacement for it, still has no plan for it in a time when they desperately need one. And
but do they need it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if they desperately need one or need one at all.
Obviously they'll need to do something to take the lid off the PS5 and show off whatever they're doing.
Sure. Yeah.
But in the meantime, they're still dominating, despite all the things Microsoft is doing. They're just crushing.
Yeah, they have been for some time too. Yeah, the only thing I think of is that Microsoft, they seem to be really going all in with this. They were talking about how we feel that you shouldn't have to buy a game twice, and if you buy a game on the Xbox One, you're going to get a free upgrade on the Series X. It's intriguing.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes.
Stuff like that'll help, and I'm curious to see where Sony's going to respond to that specifically, but other things as well. Price point being one of them, because they've come out and said essentially we're waiting until Microsoft announces what their price point's going to be.
And then what? Do it $20 less?
Do it $20 less. Exactly.
The price is
99 cents less. As long as you beat your competitors. Yeah.
Microsoft said $4.99. We're coming in at $4.98.
$4.98. Yeah. And that includes a 2-week subscription to the PSN.
Ooh.
So did they have any games announced for the PS5?
No, like everything for PS4 is coming out before mid this year. Like the Ghost of Tsushima is coming out in June as well.
Yeah.
There was one game announced for PS5. What was
it?
It was Outriders? No, Godfall. Godfall's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Outriders is as well, but that's kind of, a less interesting title potentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that just like an Anthem clone?
Dude, totally. Anthem clone, and like it had elements of, from the footage I saw, it had elements of the Division to it, where most enemies are just big, giant bullet sponges.
Oh, good.
Just ready to eat a million rounds,
That's what I like.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll say that the Division 2 had some of the best encounter design of any one of those I played. So despite the fact that things were bullet spongy from time to time, they did do some stuff to make it more interesting, like blowing off pieces of armor and whatnot.
I guess, disclaimer, my experience with the Division is only the Division 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other worthwhile news? Anybody?
They're making that Last of Us HBO series, which... So, here's my take on this news. That game is a series of amazingly well-written, well-acted cutscenes strung together by pretty decent gameplay.
Yeah.
Now, your opinion on the actual gameplay aside, you think it's amazing, you think it's good, you think it's mediocre, whatever. The point is, the meat of it is just a bunch of cutscenes stitched together with some like short gameplay sections. That's basically already a movie or a TV show. So the adaptation feels extraneous. Like, if they're going to take that series of cutscenes, reshoot them with different actors, and then they're going to be all confused when it's like, this doesn't capture the feel of The Last of Us for some reason, and they won't fully understand why.
Yeah. Yes, I think so much of The Last of Us is your connection to Joel and Ellie, and the fact that you're playing as them. That's going to be lost with the HBO series, obviously, and a huge part of what makes The Last of Us, you're not going to get.
Presumably.
Well, I mean, Neil Druckmann is on board to make this thing right, which is good.
Yeah, it's got the right director, and we'll see if it gets the right actors. I mean, honestly, like it's like you were saying, with the cutscenes the way they were, you had serious Hollywood actors doing these scenes already. So I don't know. I mean, obviously you wouldn't get the same ones. I'm sure they wouldn't want to do it again, but like, who the hell's gonna do this? Who are gonna play these characters?
I don't know. The one of the bigwigs behind that show made a point to come out and be like, "All right, guys, don't worry. Ellie is still going to be super gay.
I saw
this
that,
one. We're
yeah.
not going to roll that back." I'm like,
okay.
nobody was fucking worried about that, man. It's
Yeah,
HBO. We
seriously.
weren't holding our breath. It's fine. If it was Disney adapting this, they'd already have retconned her to be a straight person.
Oh yeah.
Or they'd be like, no on-screen kisses, and her girlfriend is dead in like the first 5 minutes, and sex is not a real thing because, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Disney would sanitize it beyond repair. HBO will leave it intact because it's their brand, and they don't have to fuck with it.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like there's a good chance they're just gonna make a really faithful, screen accurate recreation of the game.
Is that it? Is it just going to be like maybe not a shot for shot recreation, but essentially, is that what they're going to go for? Which honestly is not a bad idea. I think that a lot of movies that try to adapt source material, whether it be from comics or regular books or whatever, they try to overcomplicate things when you literally have your story, you have your story panels laid out for you. Like a classic example is The Watchmen. That movie, pretty divisive amongst the people that saw it. Some people loved it, but a lot of people that were a fan of the comic, the graphic novel, they hated it. So they didn't feel that they took as much of the source material as they should have and adapted it. And they felt that it was all just laid out there for them. And instead of just taking what was already there and what was well done, they try to do their own thing with it.
Well,
you know,
on the flip side, the Watchmen TV show is like a sequel to that shit.
That was good too. Yeah.
It was masterful.
Yeah, it was very good.
They introduced all these elements. They sewed up every single one. Everything is accounted for. Everything comes together perfectly by the last episode.
Sure.
And it's like it's a new story. So they can change things if it's done right.
That's a good point. So do you think that the Last of Us HBO series would be cool if they maybe did something that didn't involve Joel and Ellie?
No.
Okay.
No, I think it would be The Walking Dead, but different. And fuck that.
Okay.
1000% fuck that. No, we don't need that.
Yeah, I mean, really, they haven't said what this is going to be other than it's going to generally follow the story and Ellie is gay.
Yeah, it's gonna
That's
it's
it.
gonna follow, from what I understand, mostly the story of the first one.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
But if they're turning it into a series, I think they can fill out a lot of the space that was left in the game. But arguably, that space is supposed to be there, and that's what makes it such a compelling narrative.
Yeah. My only request is that they do a one and done series like The Watchmen, where it's just like this many episodes and then we're out.
Yeah.
Just tell the story and be done.
Don't turn this into 9 seasons.
Don't.
Yeah.
Like fucking don't.
Yeah.
It never works. It's always bad.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys know that they're still making The Walking Dead?
Fuck off. It's so gross. Like I like, who is still watching that garbage?
Yeah, that show could have ended 5 years ago. Easily.
Yeah. Easy.
Like,
easy peasy. Just
second or third season, it should have been done. It was super compelling in the beginning, but it's so repetitive and predictable now.
As soon as you establish a pattern where it's just like, go to a new mini civilization, seems cool at first, cracks appear from under the surface, everything falls apart, the survivors move on to the next one. I just described the plot of like several seasons of that show. Like,
yeah, like even at this point, when a major character death occurs, there's a specific amount of time that occurs between major character deaths. So even if one occurs, you pretty much are anticipating it at that point, and you know it's going to come. You talk about Game of Thrones, like before the final season, at least things were unpredictable to the point where you weren't sure, you really weren't sure who was going to live and who was going to die.
Yeah.
With The Walking Dead, they it's been predictable for a long, long time now.
Well, since we like to end this podcast on down notes, let's end on that down note that potentially the HBO the HBO Walking Dead. I'd maybe watch the HBO Walking Dead.
I would.
That might be good.
Yeah, it would be a lot better if they could drop a couple F-bombs.
Just one. Just a fuck now and then.
I feel like that would make the show watchable.
Yeah, sprinkle in a fuck or two.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening. This has been Press X the podcast with Paul, James, and Rhett from COG Connected. Thank you very much for listening. Keep it tuned to COG Connected for video game stuff coming up in the near future. Things like Animal Crossing and Doom and Half-Life and Resident Evil and Final Fantasy. Ooh, and House Flipper.
Yes, and House Flipper.
Yeah.
Person 5.
Keep your fucking eyes peeled for that House Flipper.
I will keep it locked for House Flipper. I can't wait to see that. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of everybody else. Don't get coronavirus. And yeah, we'll see you next time as long as the world hasn't ended. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Wash your fucking hands.
Yeah, don't get coronavirus, but go buy Corona. They're like 40% off right now.
Crack a delicious Corona.